There's something we need to talk about here, and it's this guy. You know, this guy.
I am undefeated elite athlete from Tajikistan. 9 win, 0 lost. Dana, I come here for fight in short notice. Please give me chance, Dana.
What's your record?
9-0.
9-0. How old are you?
25.
25 years old?
Yeah. I'm ready.
You ready?
Give me chance, please. Yeah. Doesn't matter. UFC. Can't tell Dana.
That said, the cool thing about this guy is that Dana White decided to give him a chance, which was the only thing that he asked for, a chance to fulfill his dream of fighting in the UFC. And I feel that everybody who really wants a chance and has earned it should get it, don't you? And with that said, this guy right here did it first. Dominique Fallen Angel Robinson, a chocolate Adonis of a man. I mean, look, the guy can literally speak to pussy. Every woman in the world loves that, right? A dream for BBC lovers worldwide. But enough about that. Let's talk about how, well, quite frankly, I did it first.
One more, Dana. You owe me something from 2012. I've been bugging you for it too, so you know what?
You say Dana?
Yeah, Dana.
What do I owe you?
I fought Anderson Silva's guy. I got ripped off. You told me I did.
Okay.
You owed me some WC DVDs, Dark and all the Dark Age DVDs. You never gave them to me. I had to buy them myself. You guys signed 5 dudes this year that ducked me in fights too. I want you to know that. You crazy ninja. That ducked me. You signed, and they lost. You know what I mean? You can ask Nick, ask Nate. I'm a hitter. You need to get me up in there. Quit signing these suckers, Dana.
I have no idea what you mean, and I personally told you that I would burn you old DVDs.
You personally told me. You had your camera guy that walks around you that eats all the donuts. Write it down, and I never got him. All right? I bought it myself, so I want some pride shirts and everything now. Come on, I'm signing guys that ducked me too.
Hey, no, give him the mic. Give that guy the mic.
One more.
And looking at that number, 9.3 million views, and this is just one of many videos on YouTube that went viral at the most anticipated press conference at the time. That was a bust. When I came in for the last question of the day to make it go viral, I saved the day like a black Superman. This is one of many videos on YouTube with millions of views. So some would say I even did it better.
Hey, no, give him the mic. Give that guy the mic again. What are you doing? They're trying to take the mic from you.
NoWolfTickets.com.
Hey, I owe you $100 today. I will give you $100. And then if you beat these guys that you say you beat and all that stuff, you need to talk to Joe Silva. If you talk to Joe
Silva, he said get one more fight, but they are ducking me. You signed Escudero, he ducked me. You signed Giagos, he ducked me, and they all losing. Ask Nick, we don't play up there in the 209 or the 510.
Apparently you do not. So you come see me out in back, and you and I are going to square up, big guy, all right?
All right, that's all good.
Many people after that asked me, did Dana White give me that $100? Yeah, he actually gave me $300. Did he give me a UFC contract or even a chance in the UFC? I didn't get that, but I did get to meet up with Joe Silva. Remember this guy, Joe Silva, the long-time matchmaker for the UFC? So here's the interesting thing about Joe Silva and I. A lot of people had a tumultuous relationship with him. Ours didn't start off that way. He actually hit me up for this. The Ultimate Fighter Season 5 in 2007, won by my homeboy and long-time training partner, Nate Diaz. See, the thing is, they were thinking about taking Nate and myself, but they had an issue with some of the other seasons about people not wanting to fight each other, and they thought that we wouldn't want to fight each other, being teammates and all. So with that said, Joe Silva made me a promise that the next time they had a lightweight season of The Ultimate Fighter, he would put me in the UFC. You want to know when I got the call for the UFC? At this time. 3 years later in 2010, when Korean Zombie made his U.S. debut versus Leonard Garcia, I believe it was in Sacramento, California, and I was invited to the fight Nobody knew who Korean Zombie was but me, because I am Dom Rogan, the only person that surpasses Joe Rogan in overall fight knowledge. So I was excited to go. We met after the event, and he asked me to be on a middleweight season of The Ultimate Fighter. At this time, I was about 159 pounds, fighting at 155, so I told him no. He brought up how Kenny Florian fought people bigger than him and other things like that. And I told him I didn't care about being on TV or being famous. I wanted a real opportunity to be in the UFC and succeed, and a real chance at winning the show. So I told him I couldn't do that. And that's what happened to signing me to a lightweight season of The Ultimate Fighter. And he told me this was my only offer, and if I didn't take it, I would regret it. And regret it I did. You see, as a longtime athlete that came up with this guy, sparring and training with them as a youth, to being part of this team before the Cormiers, the Koscheck, the Habibs, or any of that, before it was even a full-time MMA gym and still had boxers and kickboxers there, to being one of the best fighters this guy right here ever produced, to helping that same guy get ready for this fight here, the first legal fight in California. And I was doing it before this in Mexico, Central America, and China. Yeah, in China. Around the same time, and some of the same cards, and maybe even before these two guys. Yeah, those two guys. We were all fighting kickboxing around the same time, and close, and probably on some of the same shows. And the former of which I got to train with in China, and way later in life in Thailand. But anyhow, because of this guy, I spent the next years of my life fighting guys from Fedor's team, guys from UFC, guys from Bellator, top prospects from Japan and everything else, and was told to win and I would be in the UFC. I would win and not be let in. Win, I'd be in the UFC. Win and not be let in, until eventually I would get ripped off a fight, only for this guy here to tell me once again that I have to start over and get a new streak to get back in. And I don't want to hate on this guy from a country where they have a lot less than our country chasing a dream, because I commend that. But when he talks about having no manager, no nothing, trust me, I understand. But the truth is the truth, and why he's beating guys like this here, I had a way stronger strength of schedule of who I had to fight, named people, and then was being ducked by people that fought easier people to get into the UFC just to lose, while I was being bypassed, managing myself, training myself with a broke spine, with one working arm, the right one, the left one was neurologically damaged from the spine. And I did it for years, thinking that I would eventually get through to Joe Silva and accomplish the mission. I mean, you would think that would be enough, right? Doesn't it show heart, determination, ambition, drive, that fight anyone, anytime mentality that Dana White talks about? To do it all, managing, promoting yourself, to being one of the highest paid guys not in the UFC at the time, to being a 13 pound for pound prospect in the world, to the #1 guy in Cali at the time, up and coming, with the broke spine and one working arm. Wouldn't that be enough with all the people that you see in these photos, and then some that are able to vouch for me and spent years wondering why I wasn't in the UFC, as I continued to train with and help train most of the guys that you have watched in the past, present, and probably will be doing so in the future. But they love to discredit me. Maybe it's something against Cameroonians, since I'm half like this guy. I mean, I was the first MMA guy ever training with Andre Ward, and they spun that narrative and said it was my friends Nick and Nate Diaz, who I actually told Cesar Gracie about that gym. And I was the first MMA fighter put on a money team by this guy.
What up?
What's
Fallen
poppin',
Angel.
baby?
D1 Blank. This is my manager.
Yeah, we
back
out
home.
here in Patong.
Where you from?
Patong, Las Vegas, baby. We from Vegas.
What team you manage?
Money team, baby.
Money team, the real shit.
Yeah.
Put them on blast. Who the only nigga out here?
Oh, you know you the only one out here. You the only one out here.
Tell
only
him,
one out here putting in the work.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, so I don't know who all the fake people. Cut the fake shit out, man.
Yeah. Affiliation management.
management,
TMT.
baby.
Real shit. They brought it to Russia. Now they're bringing it to Asia.
Yeah.
You out here big business.
Yeah. Thailand, baby.
Yep. We had to clear the air though. We had to clear the air because everybody know this man. Everybody know this man, so we just had to clear it up and we let them know who it is.
We still moving.
We're gonna have.
Look, I got the Thai bed too. Chang.
And in case you're still confused who that guy was in the video with me, that's D1 Blank, the cousin of Floyd Mayweather, who manages myself and many of the fighters signed with Mayweather Promotions and TMT. But if you go online, you will find things like this. Makhmud Muradov, Floyd Mayweather's only signed MMA fighter, inks deal with the UFC, debuts in Copenhagen, and one of many false narratives not only about or pertaining to myself, but this happens to many other fighters in the MMA industry, which is just a web of lies. This man was signed in 2018 because of dealings Floyd was doing in Russia to get gyms made out there. I got put on, I believe, in 2012. That's many years before him, right? And actually made that 2011, but I ended up moving to Vegas to get things started in 2012. And I guess this guy here could have done something about it, but it's often that black people just don't back up black people enough. As a matter of fact, he still has a promise he has yet to keep to me of something that we discussed way back then, but that's a story for another day. So what happened when I talked to Joe Silva, like Dana White told me to? I was told, instead of a UFC contract like this last kid, I was told to go beat yet another UFC fighter, one that I looked up to for a long time, big on the California scene, Joe Daddy Stevenson, who also won the Ultimate Fighter Season 2. I was told to beat him and I would get a contract. I swept him 4 rounds to 1 in a title fight, which was held by Sugar Shane Mosley on pay-per-view, in which I was the main event. Did I get a contract after? No, I didn't. Instead, this man here told me to try out for the Ultimate Fighter, I believe season 22, waited till every single person tried out and everyone was done with the tryouts, and then smiled and said, Fallen Angel, guess who you're going to go against in your tryouts? This guy here. Yeah, he might look like a geek, but that's the wizard or the magician, whatever they call him. Ryan Hall, one of the best jiu-jitsu guys to do it, that will take your leg home with them and eat it like a drumstick from KFC in the hood. That's what he did to me. And I had to roll with this guy in my tryout, and maybe he was being nice to me, because he did ask to team up with me on Tough later, him and Tom Galecchio. But I didn't get submitted, to the amazement of everybody. And then this guy here, John Wood of Syndicate MMA in Las Vegas, being a real motherfucker that he is, said, Joe, you've been ripping this guy off his whole damn life. He's getting older now. Give him this shot. And Joe Silva said, cool. I'm just going to let you into the Ultimate Fighter. Go meet the Spike TV guys. I splashed my chocolate charisma all over them. And they loved me, all of them, and said they definitely had to have me on this show, in which I skipped out on a bunch of fights I had in cool countries like Prague or Czech Republic and everywhere like that, and in Germany, for a lot of money to get ready for that fight. And a week before my fight, I get a call from a weird lady saying that I was kicked off the show because of this. King Arthur from the Japanese anime Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works being on my Instagram after a fight with Hercules, wrapped in chains, beat the hell up. So we know I automatically blame this guy, right? But crazy enough, he called me shortly after saying that he found out about the news, tried to prevent it, and there was nothing he could do about it because it wasn't on the UFC side, it was on Spike TV side, because people from the Culinary Union, the old enemy of Dana White, were going crazy because the UFC had people with domestic violence cases in it at the time, and they didn't want anybody else with a case like that in there. And they were saying that I was an advocate of domestic violence because of that anime picture that I had on my Instagram that they went all the way down to find from years before. So this guy here told me, forget it. I just put you into the UFC and get you a fight. And he retired shortly after. So I say no biggie because this guy here, Mick Maynard, who used to own an MMA promotion in Texas, him along with Sean Shelby, who I trained with a few times at Syndicate MMA, became the matchmakers for the UFC. I said, cool, they'll let me in. So I call Mick and he blocks me on social media afterwards and doesn't let me in the UFC and makes some comment about how I didn't want to fight for him before. And what he's talking about is when he had his show in Texas, he was always coming after me, asking me for fights. But the fights were probably for about 10 to 15% of the money I was making at the time. And I loved his show, but I just couldn't do that. And now it seemed like he had something against me. So at this point, I stopped chasing the dream. Since then, I've seen Dana White do this here. And I've seen Dana White do this here. And I've seen Dana White hire her. But at least she's kind of funny and better than the porn stars I see. Or former MMA girls I see who are now OnlyFans girls. So basically porn stars doing face-offs, interviews, and reviews with UFC fighters. Meanwhile, despite beating their guys, going through everything I went through, being an analyst for MMA Junkie, doing stuff for MMA fighting, Bloody Elbow, Middle Easy, reffing fights before and after it was legal around the world, judging fights before and after it was legal around the world, commentating fights everywhere around the world, and being an analyst for fights everywhere around the world. I still haven't been offered anything, so I'd like an opportunity, Dana, and maybe we could start with this. You could give me a job as an analyst or a host or security. I have an executive protection background, or you could let me fight the guy who did it at a lesser level than me and after me here, and then see who goes to the UFC. And then I can show you that despite my age, some guys, like my longtime friend here, or the father of all men here, are just built kinda different. So that's my challenge to you, Dana White. You say you like giving people opportunities, chances. I'm not asking anything for free. I'm just asking for what I worked for and gave up everything for, a chance to fulfill a dream, fighting in or being part of the UFC in some capacity, something that I sacrificed time with my family, kids, and my body for. You always talk about being willing to give back and liking that mentality. So that's my challenge to you. Let me know your thoughts.